Hi, Jacob Perrin here. Today I'm going to be showing you the new 2021 Leisure U24TB. Got a lot of great features we want to share with you. There's been some upgrades to a few items to the chassis, and there's been some upgrades on the actual living part of the coach as well. And Leisure's always been a great coach for us out there, very reliable, and there's a lot of good engineering that's been tried and true over the years that go into these coaches. So we'll just show you a little bit under the hood. Cool thing about going with the Sprinter van is a lot of the driving part of the coach is going to be really similar to what you're experiencing on your daily drivers. So there's not a lot of new stuff to learn like what you would experience maybe going into a diesel pusher. Probably the main thing that I would keep customers reminded of on this particular coach is, with it being a diesel, you are going to have to maintain your diesel exhaust fluid. The reservoir is right here, and you'll be filling your diesel exhaust fluid as needed. One of the upgrades on this newer Sprinter chassis is that you do have the diesel exhaust fluid gauge right there at the dash. So in years past it was a little more difficult to get to that information, and now it's right there ready for you to see. Everything else pretty much standard. Recommend pretty much having Mercedes do your yearly service on these coaches. They've got a really good specialty synthetic oil that they're putting in at the factory, so that's allowing you, I believe, 20,000 miles or a year between service. So let those guys handle that. Probably the only other thing I could see a customer getting in under the hood for frequently would be to fill the windshield washer fluid reservoir. You also have a position for connecting up a jumper cable, and that would be the positive side of your jumper cable, and then you'd put the negative over here on the body ground. On the Sprinter chassis, we've got the chassis battery actually mounted under the driver's floorboard, so that's just kind of your quick and easy access, so you don't have to fool with pulling that apart and getting into that in the event that you need to jump somebody off or receive a jump yourself. Moving on around the coach. Right inside here, we'll be able to see really quickly a major upgrade for the 2021 Sprinter chassis. You're now able to adjust and control your seat, driver and passenger positions with electronically controlled buttons right here on either door. And then the really cool thing for the RV setup on this chassis is that you can program a couple of different memory positions on the seat setting for different drivers, but you also have a third setting that you can program so that you have the seat maybe come all the way forward for when you want to utilize the driver and passenger seats as actual living seats. So I would just program maybe the third memory to the seat position all the way forward like we've achieved here. And it looks like that button's already been programmed, so and somebody programmed in a pretty good position. When the seat is moved all the way forward, you'll get access to a release. The release is actually on the front of the seat. We're clearing the A-pillar over here, and then now we've got the seat turned around so we can use it as some lounging inside. Another major upgrade for the 2021 chassis is going to be your Infotainment Center. So everything is touchscreen, really user-friendly, and really you just have a lot more information that's easily accessible that you really didn't have before they made the upgrade with the Infotainment Center. Moving along, we've got new storage compartment locks and handles for 2021. These are upgraded so that they're a little easier to use when it's cold outside. I had personal experience where being cold outside, the previous latches, I thought I liked the looks of them, but they were a little bit more difficult to use. Not having any trouble with these at all. Storage compartments are kept locked with the key that's going to be provided when you buy the coach new. The key's kind of got the switchblade feature, so you can store that and it's not in the way whenever you've got it in the pocket. Locking our storage compartment doors is going to be as simple as that. And then unlocking will be the same. When we want to open that storage compartment door, we just turn the handle as far counterclockwise as we can. That'll unlock, and that's our first storage compartment there. In fact, all of the storage compartments down below the coach living area floor are going to look like this. They're nice and weather tight, but they are not going to be heated or cooled. So just kind of keep that in mind whenever you're placing storage items out here, that they will probably be about the same temperature as what the road's going to be. If you have items that are going to be sensitive to cold or hot, you've got other storage options that are going to be up in the living space of the coach. And those items that you put there will be kept more close to the temperature that you're going to be experiencing in the living area. 2021 Unities are coming equipped with the Truma Aquago water heater. This is probably one of my favorite RV appliances. And you can also turn this water heater basically to just a straight on-demand water heater. So that's going to save you water if you're out boondocking. And it's going to save you a little bit of propane on the straight on-demand feature, but these systems are so economical to begin with. That the efficiency really hasn't changed a whole lot between going from the hybrid mode to the on-demand mode. Really good water heater here. Right over here, behind the water heater is going to be your shore cord connection point. You're going to be provided a Furrion shore cord. I believe that's about 25 foot or so in length with the purchase of this coach. That's going to allow you to plug into your 30 amp shore service for power. You've got a transfer switch and a really robust surge protector that's built into this coach. And I believe on this floor plan, you'll actually be able to access it under the kitchen sink if you wanted to. But you're probably more protected on surge just out of the factory on this coach than you are on any other coach that I'm aware of. So that's a very good thing that Leisure is doing for their customers. Moving along, Leisure does go ahead and provide your inner dual valve extenders. So if you're going to install tire pressure monitoring system or just manually check your tire pressures, you're not going to have the trouble that you may have experienced with the inner dual or getting access to that where they didn't have the extenders. So that's also a nice feature. We'll go ahead and take a look at our above living floor storage, and this is actually going to be just under one of the beds, and you can access this storage area at least partially from up above, so that makes it nice on those rainy, cold, or hot days. You don't have to go in or out if you don't absolutely need to. This coach is outfitted with a roof access ladder. Leisure sets their ladder up to have a removable portion, just so that's kind of out of your way whenever you're loading up bikes or if you're towing behind the vehicle, but also that's kind of a security feature. You take that extended portion of the ladder off of the portion that just stays installed on the rear of the coach, and then that's going to hopefully stop somebody from just climbing up on your roof and checking out what's going on when you don't want them to. Really neat setup on how this ladder installs. You just kind of set it in there at a 90 degree and then let it go ahead and rest on the rear cap of the coach, and then it is ready to use. This coach will probably be outfitted with solar panels, and the most use that I see getting out of this ladder, the main reason I would want to have it if this was my coach, is it let me just kind of get up on the roof more frequently and easier when I wanted to get up, either take a look at the solar panels to see if they needed cleaning or go ahead and do any cleaning that might need to be done. I think this TB floor plan probably has the most storage accessible from the outside of the coach, and it might just have probably the more heated and cooled storage than any of the other floor plans that the Unity is offering. So if you're going for a lot of storage, this would probably be the floor plan for you. All right, so something to keep in mind, safety item, and Leisure's good about noting kind of in a way that doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. that you've got propane in this storage compartment. You'll notice that that is the only storage compartment that doesn't have a key cylinder for locking. So we leave that one unlocked all the time so you can get to the propane switch in the event that you need to shut the propane off. That propane shut-off switch is right here. Your propane filling station is right over here. So whenever you are ready to have the propane system filled, you'll just go to any service station that's going to provide propane, and a technician will fill that up for you. Everything on the coach is going to be full, including the propane, when you take delivery. So you shouldn't have to go see the propane filling station for at least a little while. The wet bay on a Leisure is probably one of the cleanest and best organized, especially for the amount of space that they're putting it all in, that I know of. And I'll just kind of quickly go over what we've got in here and the features. One of my favorite coaches to winterize will be a Leisure product, especially a Unity, and that's because it's super simple. So what we're going to do for winterizing this coach, since we have that on-demand water heater, and this may be a little bit different from the manufacturer specs, so double check that if you want to go specifically what they're specifying. But for my experience, the on-demand water heater is got a small enough tank that I go ahead and just leave that in loop whenever I do winterization. So all I have to do for preparing for winterization on this coach is just dump my fresh and waste tank. There's no diverter valves or shutoffs or anything like that that I need to worry about. And then since Leisure has provided you with this winterize valve and a nice length of hose here, you'd be able to take a 5-gallon bucket is what I suggest, pour about 5 gallons of RV antifreeze, and that's that pink stuff, into that bucket. And you're probably going to have extra, but kind of the worst thing to do during winterization is to run out of antifreeze about midway through the winterization and have to stop and go to the store to get more. So I kind of just suggest going with 5 gallons. You'll probably use anywhere from 3 to 5, and if you're going to use more, it's going to be the first time you do your winterization, because you may inadvertently leave a valve opener or something like that and lose some of that antifreeze. But outside of any of those kind of minor difficulties, putting this hose down in the 5-gallon bucket, turning the valve over to winterize like we see here, and then turning our water pump on, which we have a switch to turn the water pump on out here in the wet bay. We also have one or a couple inside the coach, but as soon as we turn the water pump switch on, we can hook up to our outside shower here, and we can just use our outside shower on the cold and hot faucets just as if we were going to clean up or hose off with that. But what we're looking to do is we'll be running water out of the cold side initially and the hot side as well, but that'll change over to that pink antifreeze once we've got that mostly through the system. These Leisures don't have separate low point drains, but if you see their marking here, they're kind of considering their outside shower to be the low point drain. So initially in the winterization process, when all that water's coming out through the outside shower, you're putting all that water out on the ground so that you're not refilling those waste tanks that we discussed, being the first thing that you're going to take care of whenever you start the winterization process. After you've seen the antifreeze come out of both the hot and cold side on the outside shower here, you're going to go inside and run your lab sink, shower, toilet, and your kitchen sink just like you did here, and you will have a little bit of water that's going to come out ahead of that antifreeze, but you'll notice that you'll get the antifreeze out of the faucet or toilet or whatever it may be up top a lot more quickly than you did out here, and so you're not putting very much again of that water in the waste tanks. We're putting mostly antifreeze. When you're done winterizing the coach, you can kind of just leave everything closed up so that antifreeze can stay in the system. You don't need to worry about leaving any valves or faucets or anything like that open. And then that's the winterization for this coach. It's done. Super simple. And then my point in reminding you maybe to just go ahead and close all the faucets and everything when the winterization is complete, is so that you have a very easy de-winterization and you don't have any issues or accidents with maybe antifreeze going out over top of your kitchen countertop and running out on the coach floor. If you've got all the faucets closed, de-winterization is going to be just hooking up city water to your city water connection right here. And then you would just run your outside shower just like we started the winterization, just to start moving all the antifreeze out and try to get all water instead. Once you have all water coming out of the outside shower here, you'll move up inside the coach and you'll do the same thing up there, and that'll be your de-winterization. The only thing that I'll see folks get into a little bit of trouble with on this winterization valve is they may forget and leave it in the winterized position. And when they go to use their water pump off of their freshwater tank, that'll usually cause a low pressure situation. So if you ever have that, this is the first valve to check. And the way that winterization valve works, if I wasn't clear on switching the water pump on, is it just diverts. There's a little manifold that's connected to the water pump, and this valve here just diverts the water pump picking up out of the fresh tank, and it changes it over to this hose. So that probably kind of makes a little sense as to why you'd have the low water pressure if you had the valve turned to where we're just pulling air out of this hose. The pump may try to pick up a little water out of the tank, but it's not going to be very much. So it's probably another thing you could do is just go ahead and turn the valve over to the normal flow setting when you're completing the winterization. You won't have to worry about that on the de-winterized. Your outside shower is equipped with this nice quick connect hose, and I would go ahead and definitely keep antifreeze in the hose just so that it doesn't freeze up and mostly damage anything that's inside the sprayer here. Got a nice pass through on the floor here that you can run your water supply hose up into the city water connection. You'll probably want to install a water pressure regulator at the city water spigot on this particular coach, just because you don't have a whole lot of room in here to get a pressure regulator and a hose connected and then get everything down through this access. And then once you do have that pressure regulator hooked up and the water hose and you turn your city water on to the coach, if you have this valve set to normal and city water, you will take that water or pressurized water, directly transfer that to all the pressurized plumbing inside the coach. So you're basically just like hooking your RV up to the city water supply, just like your house is hooked up to it. If you want to fill your fresh water tank and have fresh water on board for use later, you'll have that same city water hose connected up to the same city water connection. And you'll just take this valve here and turn it up to water tank fill only as you're filling the freshwater tank. And you can either fill the freshwater tank until it overflows on the ground, or you can just go up inside the coach and monitor through the coach monitoring system the specific level that the water is at as it's filling, and you can shut off your city water whenever you achieve whatever level you want. Just like with the winterized valve, you'll see folks forget to turn the water tank fill valve back to normal and city water sometimes after filling the fresh tank, and that'll cause a low pressure situation as well. So again, if you're having low water pressure on your water pump pulling out of the fresh water tank, these two valves here are your first places to check, and it's common for folks to leave those in the improper position. Moving along towards the back of the wet bay, don't forget you've got coax connection points for either park cable, or if you want to do a tailgater style satellite dish that you'd be able to move around on the ground. Black and gray tank dump is going to be gravity knife valves on this coach. You've got your full way here that your sewer hose is going to connect up to. Everything is nice and simple there. Just make sure when using this coach, just like most other coaches, that you have one or the other of those knife valves open at one time. You don't want to open both of those at the same time. You can kind of cross over from one tank to the other, and we're really just not wanting the black tank to cross into the gray tank if we can help it. Not going to be the end of the world, but if that did happen, you'll notice here that we have a Santa flush valve that goes into the black tank, and that goes into the black tank only, so you can kind of get some certain things in the gray tank that you may or may not be able to get out. So when you do want to use the Santa flush to go ahead and kind of fully clean the black tank out, just make sure that you've always got your sewer hose connected up here before you start the process. That's going into your sewer inlet. And then go ahead and pull this black tank dump valve out and open, so that when you start running water into the Santa flush, that you don't get talking to a neighbor or something like I would, and then forget the thing is running and overfill your black tank. You can imagine that that's just not the best situation. Another thing that I caution folks on is, like, if you take that 12 hours to Breckenridge, Colorado in one day and you're kind of road weary, when you get there, but you still want to go ahead and hook up at your full hookup campsite, that's the time where I'm going to be tired, and I may stand a chance of inadvertently hooking my city water into the Santa flush instead of the actual city water connection. And that sounds like it would be something that you probably wouldn't think would occur, but it does happen. And when it happens, it's just like running the black tank flush without having the knife valve open or the sewer hose installed. So you could come away with a little bit of coach damage if you didn't pay attention to that. So my thinking is, hopefully, in me mentioning that when I do a walkthrough, it kind of sticks out there enough that if you do get back here and you are a little bit tired, you know, you'll kind of remember that I need to make sure that I realize there's two water inlets here, and they're both doing very different things. Leisure does provide you with a little blowout tool that you can hook compressed air up to the coach through the city water inlet, and all that's going to do is allow you to move more of the water out of the system before you start introducing antifreeze on a winterization. But these plumbing systems on these coaches are small enough that I feel like you can just save the time and go ahead with the antifreeze process. But it is there if you did want to use it. Kind of wraps up the wet bay. Go ahead and close that down. And you are set up with your hitch receiver and 7-way back here for tow vehicles, bike racks, luggage racks, all that good stuff. Just make sure you keep in the range of the weight limits for the coach when you're adding all those items. You've got your rear view camera, and that is going to be visible when you've got the coach in reverse. It'll automatically display on your infotainment screen. Here's another access to storage on the coach. It kind of goes all the way across to where we were above the living floor over on the roadside. So if you've got fishing poles, stuff like that that you want to carry, you've got good, easy storage for those. A cool feature that you've got on this particular Leisure is the table that you can take out of its storage position in here. We'll release the travel lock, pull the table out, and what you're going to see is the table has adjustable legs, so you're going to want to level the coach out first before you install the table. But whatever you have to, or however you have to manipulate the coach to get you comfortable inside, the table legs are going to be adjustable enough so that the table should be level once you get everything set up. So we just got a little release there, and we'll go ahead and open our table. Once we've got it open, just clips right into the side of the coach. And then you've got these legs that'll drop here. And then there's your adjustment. I don't like a lot of RV accessories personally, but this is one that's really nice and neat, and it goes really well with the coach. That's something that I noticed about Leisure is the accessories that they provide. It's kind of like that ladder. They just seem to be really smart how they've designed and engineered them, and they're really good at accomplishing what you want and staying out of your way when you're not using them. So probably when you go to remove the table from the coach, it's best to have table still locked in on the coach wall mounts. Go ahead and fold your legs up, and they lock in place. So you're not having to sit there and fuss with trying to hold them in place while you're then grabbing the front of the table, pushing the button down. And I always like to be back here so I can kind of plan on getting the table released and then pull it away from the coach pretty quickly so that I don't stand any chance of scratching the coach body. It's probably hard to see on camera, but Leisure does put a little bit of a clear mask here, so that if you do bump the coach a little bit, it's going to be protected from scratching. But it's only about 2 to 3 inches up, so you kind of want to be pulling out away from the coach as soon as the table releases. Go right back in our little storage spot. And if you don't latch your travel lock, no big deal. You'll probably just have a loud bang towards the rear of the coach the first time you hit the brakes good. All right, right here we've got another storage compartment. When I get this one open, it kind of gives me access to this outside propane quick connect. So that's going to allow you to have a hose to connect up to a grill. So you could do outside grilling right off of the propane that's supplied on the coach. Just keep in mind, since the propane tank on the coach is already regulated, that whatever grill that you're going to hook up to the coach, you'll want to either have a plan to take the regulator out of the system, or you'll just get a grill that's designed to be used with these propane quick connect setups. Leisure provides the correct fitting that you can connect to any hose to make that system work, so that's really nice. Right here we have our generator storage. That is going to be a propane generator on this coach, so that tells me you'll probably have a little larger propane storage capacity on this floor plan than you would on some of the other Unity floor plans. You have a full 30 amps of output available on this generator, so there's no kind of guessing between, oh, well, I normally do this on shore power, but I can only do this on generator. You can do everything through this generator on this coach that you're able to do on the shore power. So it kind of just takes the guesswork out of it. You've got 110 outlet out here on the living side of the coach. It's kind of neatly positioned over where your outside table is going to be when you've got that installed. This is just venting your refrigerator, just in case you're curious as to what those are. Right in here, you've got your shore cord that we mentioned earlier, and I think it is going to have a tag on there that says it's 25 foot long. And then right over next to it, you've got your battery charger and inverter. So this coach, you're going to be able to run the inverter to do microwave and TVs and stuff when you're not running the generator or not plugged into shore power. And we'll talk about the charging system and how it works just a little bit more when we're inside on some of the touchscreens. On your patio awning, those are going to be controlled through these switches right here in the passenger entry door. So you've got the switches mounted right to the passenger seat base. That's also going to be where they're going to install the switch for your patio awning light. What I like about the Carefree awning that they're using and installing on the Unity is that it's got the LED awning light mounted to the outside cover of the awning, so you can use that as patio lighting pretty much anytime. There's some awnings out there that you've actually got to roll the awning partially out or fully out to be able to take advantage of that lighting. So especially in boondock situations, maybe out in rural areas where there's not a lot of additional lighting, that's going to be really useful to you. Don't forget, if you ever had to pull over on the side of the road or whatever and get in a storage compartment, you can use those, and it's going to illuminate things for you, make it easier to find your items, but it's also probably going to keep you a little more safe too. When you're ready to run that awning out, you'll just turn the awning switch to the on position, and you can press and release the extend button, and the awning will automatically extend to its fully extended position. Keep in mind that if that awning ended up running out a little further maybe than you thought, and there was a tree or another coach or something that was going to get into, just press any of the buttons on the controlling switch and that will stop the awning right where it's at when you press the switch. And you may want to stop that awning in this position just so that you can direct the light on that awning rail, maybe for book reading or something like that. With the awning partially or fully extended, there's going to be a wind sensor that's going to be actively monitoring for too much wind, so long as you've got good 12-volt charge to the coach. So what I tell people, that those are used for more or less if you are out here hanging out on the patio and you kind of like fall asleep or whatever, and you don't get awoken before the wind's so much or strong enough that it's going to cause damage to the awning. Awning will go ahead and bring itself in. It is best for you to go ahead and bring that awning in the event that you notice the wind's getting up, if it is getting up to be anything more than about 10 or 20 miles an hour. I'll just press the retract button. One press and release of the switch will have the awning fully retract automatically. You do have an ignition lockout on these awnings, so if you've ever got the ignition on, maybe worked in the Infotainment Center or listened to a Bluetooth your phone over or something like that for music, you may need to adjust the settings on, like from accessory to ignition on, to actually get the lock to come on, or the ignition lockout to come undone off the awning. Okay, real quick, that is your furnace exhaust. You've got a propane furnace on this coach. And one more small storage area.
Hey folks, make sure to give us a like and subscribe below for content just like this. And make sure to check back here often for a lot more content. Let's get back to the video.
All right, so inside our Unity, we've got everything kind of nice and neatly organized in here, just like we had outside. Again, that's one of the things that Leisure really prides themselves on, is the way that they've engineered this coach to kind of work with you and keep the clean look that hopefully you're picking up over video. One of those things that they do to keep everything nice and neat and easily accessible is they have most of all of the controlling items for this coach situated in this compartment right above the entry door. So you don't have to go looking all over the coach for all, switches for your generator, your tank monitor, stuff like that. Generally, everything's going to be right here. So this Unity is outfitted with the Equalizer EQ Smart Level. Great product. You're going to be able to turn power on, and the reason we've got the flashing lights right now is the parking brake is not engaged. So just like with the awning, you've got to have the ignition off to work the awning. You have to have the park brake engaged as a safety to have the equalizer leveling system start working. Working the equalizer leveling system is simple as set the park brake and press auto level. While the system's leveling the coach, all you got to do is kind of hang out in here and be relatively still. And as long as you're not in a really extreme excess slope situation, you should be able to have the coach level itself out. And then the big thing about that leveling on these B vans is that that's going to stabilize the coach, so that when you or whoever is going to be in the living area are kind of walking around, moving around inside, the whole coach isn't going to be moving around on you. You can manually adjust that leveling system by dropping 2 of the jacks or raising 2 of the jacks anytime you would like to, by working the manual switches here on the leveling system controller. We've got an upgraded lithium-ion battery set up on this coach for the house batteries. Those are going to be mounted under the entry step. But since those are lithium-ion batteries, those are going to be a little more sensitive to cold temperatures. And when I say sensitive to cold temperatures, I don't mean like they're going to get cold and that's going to break them. It's just that the cold actually works to decrease the charge on a lithium-ion battery at some point, just like leaving a light on. So if it were really cold and you want to check your manual to see what really cold actually means, right up here is the controller for that Truma Aquago on-demand, or what I'm calling a hybrid water heater. Right over here is your tank monitors, and you also have a position to turn the water pump on to pull water out of the freshwater tank. If you go through our monitor selections, you can see that we've got our propane level at 33% here, and we should show our black, gray, fresh tank, and those should all be showing 0 as they are now, because we do have this coach winterized. So we've got the antifreeze introduced into the plumbing system now. We've got a battery voltage readout here on the tank monitor system as well. And I know that we're getting a pretty good solar charge coming into the house batteries based on this voltage reading I'm seeing here. And your solar charging controller is going to be right over here. It's going to be mostly informational. There are some items you can kind of go into the back side of the system to adjust how it works if you're changing up those batteries, but you're probably going to want to stick with the lithium-ion battery that the coach comes with. Right over here we have the controller for that propane generator. We're going to stop and start the generator through that controller, but it'll also give us information about service and time on the generator. Over here, all the way at the far end, is the controller for your inverter. And again, that's going to power a few outlets on the coach, your microwave, your TVs, just a few of those 110 items that you may want to use sparingly whenever you're not plugged into shore power or running the generator. You'll be able to power those items off of the house batteries through the inverter in some cases. Okay, so coming down from your coach controlling cabinet, you've got your house battery disconnect switch mounted down by the fire extinguisher. And then I just want to point out really quickly while you're down here, on this handlebar and the grab handle on the exterior of the coach, this light switch here is the only one that has a center position. And if you turn that to the down position, you'll actually get this and the exterior handle to light up. And then if you turn that switch to the up position, that's actually turning the patio light on. So that's an additional LED light to the strip light that we saw mounted to the awning. And the other switches are pretty straightforward, because they're actually you're gonna see the lights that they're switching on while you're in here. This red illuminated switch is actually gonna be for your storage compartment lighting. Your main house lighting, if it's switched on a switch that looks like this, is giving you indication that that is a dimmable circuit. Moving along, I guess right down here, be able to show you the 110 portion of the controlling portion of the coach. This is going to be really similar to your 110 panel at home. The only difference on it is that you have that inverter that's coming off the house batteries and kind of tying into some of your 110 appliances through that panel, so you can power those off that inverter. The charging on the house batteries, if I wasn't clear on that before, is done through the inverter that we pointed out when we were outside the coach. So that is a charger and inverter combo that handles both of those functions on this coach. Right next to the 110 panel, you've got this 12 volt fuse panel, and that's just got your normal automotive blade style fuses. Don't have a lot of experience with those blowing on the Leisure product from new. Usually if you ever have any issue with that later on in the life of a coach, it's something that's come loose. So if you are replacing any of those fuses more than once, it'd be time to come back and see us. But on Leisure, I don't see folks back in for items like that too often. Got a nice little table extension here. Give you a little extra kitchen countertop space, but kind of keep that minimal when you're not needing it, so you've got more seating area. I do believe that this seat will lift up. Yes, it does. So it's probably easiest to pull both of the cushions off. Absolutely is. And then once you've done that, you can move your seatbelt out of the way, and I think we've got another seatbelt on the passenger side seating, so we can seat 4 people in this coach for travel. And once you pull that portion of the seat down, you can reinstall your cushion. And then if you remember, we had a cushion sitting in one of our storage compartments when we were outside the coach, and that'll sit right here, and you've got kind of this cool chase lounger to hang out on. Oh, this is a neat feature. I mentioned about the transfer switch with the surge protector built in and how it's kind of more robust than a lot of them I see out there. They've even given you access to the monitor. So all you'd have to do is remove the seat cushion from this lounger, fold the lounger out, and you'd be able to see, you know, if you did take a surge or for some reason the coach wasn't connecting up to shore power like you anticipated. You've got a key and you'll have codes that'll give you some information as to what actually could be going on with that situation. Got a lot of USB charging for phones and devices in the coach. It's really nice and handy. We'll just replace our seat cushions. Got nice soft closing drawers with the Leisure, so you don't have those drawers come and open when you're in transit, but you also don't have a hard pull or push to open and close those drawers, so that's a nice feature to have. Got your nice propane stovetop through Dometic here, and since we are saving room and weight and not putting an oven in this coach, you've got the convection oven built right into the microwave there for your oven needs. Nice little trash bin built right into the countertop. I always like to show off. Your sink cover, again, is going to give you more countertop space without getting in the way of floor space. I try to situate these sink covers to where the faucet is actually pointing into the sink, so that in the event you accidentally get your city water turned on and you've forgotten and left this faucet in the on position, that water will just go ahead and go in the sink as opposed to on the countertop and out on the floor. This coach does have a whole house water filter, and that's filtering the water even going into the toilet. So it's not so much for the drinking as it would be for keeping scale and mineral and everything out of the plumbing, so you can continue to use your plumbing trouble-free as the coach ages. You do have a shut-off system for the Truma Aquago water heater back here. And I did mention earlier that you could go ahead and utilize that if you want to go per manufacturer spec, or since the reservoir for that water heater is not too big, you could go ahead and run the antifreeze right into it without having the process of running the bypass, but it is there if you did want to use it. We've got our upgraded Dometic 3-function refrigerator in this coach, and so we can run the refrigerator on auto, which is going to prefer 110 electric, and then automatically switch over to propane when 110 electric is not available. These are really functioning pretty similarly to the previous Dometic refrigerators, except they've upgraded the user interface. And I said that this was a 2-function, I believe, but it's actually a 3-function, because you can see we have the option there to run the refrigerator on 12 volt. I believe when we select 12 volt on this coach, and you'll double check your Dometic manual concerning this, at a certain point, if your house 12 volt is low enough, the refrigerator is either going to alarm, or especially if you keep it in auto, it's going to switch back over to propane. So there are features built in to keep the refrigerator working on low battery scenarios, or no 110 scenarios, or low propane scenarios, so you can more or less get the refrigerator to work with whatever you've got available to you. Probably the coolest feature about this new Dometic refrigerator is, especially for B-vans, is that you can open the door for the freezer and refrigerator from either side. So me and Brian don't have to kind of do this shimmy past each other dance. You know, if he wants to grab a drink from where he's at, he grabbed the door handle and open the refrigerator nice and open towards him. And then if I say, well, I want to grab my own drink or whatever, he can close the door on his end, and that'll allow me to open the door up this way. And you've got easy access from either side. Super neat. It helps a customer getting around their coach, but it also helps the manufacturer too, because they don't have to think so much about the way the door is going to open when they're making a floor plan, and it sort of frees them up to get a little more creative. You've got nice heavy-duty pantry that are going to lock in place when you're going down the road. Got really nice drawer guides, nice and smooth motion on opening and closing those. Just keep in mind that you do want to utilize that pantry lock when you're driving the coach, especially on those hard left turns. The pantry could come out if you didn't lock the latch. Leisure has smartly put a stop to where if you did forget about that, hopefully the door would be stopped before it hit and damaged the refrigerator, but you don't really want to test that feature so much. You've got your Dometic thermostat up here, and the way the coach is outfitted is we've got a roof-mounted AC heat pump unit. So you're going to get cooling and heating between 40 and 65 degrees from the roof-mounted unit. You've also got a propane furnace, and we kind of pointed out the exhaust for that when we were outside the coach. But that's going to put out heat through the floor, especially below 40 degrees. That's going to be your primary way of heating the coach. And then you can run the heat pump and roof AC just on fan mode if you want, and that'll circulate some air in the coach. But every function, or all the functions for HVAC on this Leisure are going to be handled right here. So you don't have to go hunt for an extra furnace thermostat, which I've seen in some coaches. So it's kind of simplified there. If you look back here through the hall, you'll notice that Leisure's doing an awesome job of taking advantage of every little bit of space they have. So they've got this nice rounded bathroom, and the door is also integrated into that shape, and it's all about saving space. And so when you open the door, it follows the shape of the floor cutout, and if the coach is level, it'll kind of go ahead and hold itself right in position there. And as long as you're not actively getting in and out of the bedroom portion of the coach, the door will kind of hang out there, and it makes the area feel a lot bigger than what it really is. If you just had your standard flat door opening and closing here, there's going to be probably a good 10 or more square foot of space that you're just going to be wasting anytime the door's open. We've got a really nice Macerator toilet on this coach. You don't need the Macerator toilet on this coach necessarily to move any of the waste to a tank that's mounted away from the toilet or anything like that. So it's kind of just an upgraded feature, and the main benefit of having that Macerator toilet is that if you are running a black tank a little longer maybe than you normally would, especially when it's really hot outside, the Macerator toilet is more or less going to keep a P-trap situation like what you have on your sink drains, where you have a water barrier between you or the toilet and that tank. So whenever you flush the toilet, you don't ever experience the open tank or the gases that might be in that tank whenever it's open. So like a gravity flush toilet that just dumps right into the black tank when it's really hot outside and you've got it really cool inside the coach, those warmer gases are going to tend to, and no matter how clean you keep those black tanks, the gases are going to, at least some of them are going to escape while you're flushing that toilet. So you don't experience that with this toilet here, and that's just a really nice feature to have. All right, so moving along, we've got the shower nice and neatly situated right here in this closet access. When you are showering, the door is actually going to be kept if you want to fully open it right here in the hallway. Gives you a nice half mirror, and then when you're showering, you've got the shower curtain that's going to engage and keep the living space of the coach from getting wet. But if I wanted to, I could go ahead and open the door to the toilet area, and again, if we're leveled out, this door is going to stay open. And I am kind of taking advantage of a bathroom that's just about the same size as what you're going to experience in a 40-foot diesel pusher. So being able to kind of cram that down into this B van and then use it as you like is a really great feature. The shower is really nice and economically laid out like you'd expect. You've got clothes drying hangers here, and you've also got some light that you could turn on inside the shower. Back here in the bedroom, super cool feature of the U24TB is that you have your twin beds, and that gives you tons of space back here. moving in and out of the coach, and it kind of keeps you in a setup where you're not moving around or manipulating the furniture in the coach too much. So like if you're on the road a bunch, going from one place to the other, this is a setup you're gonna like. But if you wanna get that kind of like full bedroom, cozy area, you can install or fold out the bed support here, and you're gonna be able to put these filler portions, which is a really nice, comfortable mattress, I might add. But they've custom made these filler portions that I'll go ahead and set in between these two twin beds, and now you've got a full, what comes out to be almost like the size of a king bed back here. It's probably like a California king, looks a little bit short, but it's super versatile. So like I mentioned before, you've got all the access to storage down below. See, this is actually, I think, separate from the storage below, but if you lift the seat cushions, I'm sorry, the mattress, that's the outside storage that we were accessing right above the wet base. So super nice and versatile. This is going to be specifically fitted sheets for the mattress setup, and then you also have a privacy curtain that'll be installed across the driver and passenger area when you want to close that off for privacy. Over here on the other storage access is where you'll find your pedestal table nice and neatly stored, so it doesn't shift around in here and make noise and beat up on the coach or the table itself. It kind of hangs out there nice and neatly until you want to use it. And then what I appreciate as an RV technician on leisure is they've got this access here, and your fresh tank water pump is right there. You can actually see the freshwater tank. And then when you want to drain that freshwater tank for winterization, right down there, and it may or may not show on camera, but you've got a nice little water shutoff valve that you can put in the on or off position depending on how you want that fresh tank. All right. All right, back up here at the front of the coach, I just want to point out that we've got the keyless ignition for the coach. So you just want to have your key fob somewhere near the driver's area of the coach to work the ignition or to work the accessory. Now I'm just going to turn the ignition on to the accessory position because I want to show you this cool infotainment center. While we wait for the infotainment center to boot up, take a look at your HVAC controls. Those are all really nice and neatly set up. All right, that concludes our walkthrough on the 2021 Leisure Unity. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions, be sure and contact us. And more importantly, if you want one of these things, come and see us. We'd love to see you take off in one.
Thanks for watching our video. If you have any questions, be sure to drop a comment below. Or if you have any suggestions on content you'd like to see, we'd love to hear about that. Go ahead and give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again.